and welcome. This is Health and Lifestyle. My name is Marie Yambo. Now, reproductive health, according to the World Health Organization, is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Well, in today's program, we delve into reproductive health with a focus on contraception, the different methods and how to know different options available and barriers to access of contraception. As always, our social media handles at Marie Yambo at KBC Channel 1 on X and KBC Channel 1 TV on Facebook. But before that, here's a look at what's coming up.
Because I am deaf, I don't need to give birth to children, so that is why they advise on taking that injection at 5 years.
Deaf people also deserve to have children.
Masaini, wanawake wa Masaini wakuwa wanahitaji kusimamisha kuzaa. Wanasaa tu hadi siku mtoto ataisha mwilini.
Masai Morans championing family planning.
Like, are you a 21-day kind of cycle? Are you 35 days? Is it heavy? Is it light? So those things matter. How do you feel during them between 21 to 35 days of your cycle?
And why you need a doctor to guide you in choosing contraceptives. Traditionally, the Maasai community used traditional methods of family planning. However, a new generation of Maasai warriors is going against the grain to support modern contraceptive. And communication barriers can result in a lack or insufficient information about sexual and reproductive health for women with hearing disability. Well, a mother of 4, Beryl Atieno, recounts the hurdles she had to endure while seeking health services. Here is her story.
Enabling sustainable and equitable increases.
The Delivering Equitable and Sustainable Increases in Family Planning Conference gathered stakeholders to assess efforts aimed at improving access to family planning services. While marginalized communities face challenges in accessing these services, the situation is even more difficult for individuals with hearing disabilities. For Beryl Atieno, the absence of sign language interpreters in health facilities has made it hard to access essential reproductive health information.
For someone who is deaf, like me, we do have challenges with the communication. You know, we most of the times use Kenya Sign Language, and so when we miss a sign language interpreter, we might have a miscommunication because we tend to communicate through writings. Another challenge that we as persons with disability and most so the deaf persons go through is attitude there, because you want to access a service in a hospital, you go asking people where should I get these services, and now because we have that miscommunication, we do not understand each other, they will have, some will laugh at us. So it has been a challenge accessing family planning, not being able to understand which is the best for you. Is it the coil? Is it that injection of the 3 months? And also accessing those services when you want to give birth, you want to ask questions on what is the best medicine to use, and because of that miscommunication, we tend not to get the services as we would have wanted.
Communication barriers often result in a lack or insufficiency of information about the right contraceptive methods.
Sometimes you want to tell the doctor which family planning that you want to use. Like there's this one time I was telling them that I want the 3 months injection, and now the doctor is trying to tell me this 5 year is the one that is good for you. Because I feel like they sometimes they think that because I am deaf, I don't need to give birth to children, so that is why they advise on taking that injection at 5 years, of which for me I feel that is wrong.
And even when a child is sick, the challenges persist.
Other times when my babies are sick, accessing the medicine for them, it's always hard because they will not understand what is happening with the kid. And also for me, it's hard for me to explain really to them what is happening.
However, communication barriers aren't the only obstacle. Traditional beliefs often tie a woman's role to her fertility, making family planning harder to discuss and implement.
Masaini, wanawake wa Masaini wakuwa wanahitaji kusimamisha kusaa. Wanasaa tu hadi siku mtoto itaisha mwilini.
Robin Emasai Moran is working to challenge these customs through delivering equitable and sustainable increase in family planning project, which emphasizes the importance of involving men in breaking these traditions.
Sasa tumekuja kujua iko na maana na iko na faida kwa sababu watoto sasa wanasoma hawaelewi kwa wadogo. Watoto wapate mimba kwa sababu tumekuja kujua njia ya kuprotect, na mama wasikuisi wasai watoto wengi kwa sababu tumekuja kujua hiyo njia ya family planning. Sasa iko na faida kwetu kabisa.
He encourages men to support the use of modern contraceptives as a means of empowering families through responsible family planning.
Watoe wa mama watumie family planning kwamba watumie hiyo, kuna hii ya kudunga mkono, kuna hii tablets na mesa, na watumie pia condoms kwa sababu ya hiyo family planning. Hiyo ni kutengeneza maisha yako na watoto wako.
I want organizations and also the Ministry of Health to help we as a deaf person to have an employed sign language interpreter in the hospitals. Also, I would want the healthcare services to be trained on how to relate with persons with disabilities. That way, we will get comfortable even to visit the hospitals as well.
Now, by 2030, Kenya aims to increase the modern contraceptive prevalence rate for married women from 58% to 64% and reduce the number of need for family planning for all women from 14% to 10% by 2030. Dr. Margaret Jenga is the CEO, Population Services Kenya. She starts by explaining how they're delivering equitable and sustainable increases in family planning project is ensuring increase in use of modern contraceptive prevalence rate in Kenya and the important role men play in family planning.
In this program, we work in counties, the arid and semi-arid counties that have a low or a high unmet need for family planning, and work towards increasing access to contraceptive services so that no woman who wants contraception misses it. That's the work that we do under the DESIP program.
Like you've rightly put it, you work with underserved communities. They also have cultural barriers and all that. And I've seen that in your programs, you're also now involving the male figure to champion, can I say, issues of family planning and all that. Why is that very important?
The reason why men must be involved in this conversation on contraceptives is because they're decision makers at the household level. And we've seen cases where a woman is educated or and gets access to contraceptive services, but when she gets home, the man does not understand how he was not involved, what this means to his family. So that's why it's very crucial, and that's why under the DESI program we brought in the man.
Family planning has gotten a bad rap at times, and people look at it as a way of, can I say, controlling the population, which might not really be a bad thing when you look at issues of development as a nation, and even when you look at development within the family setup in itself. But talk to us about that, because family planning is not just about population, control. Yeah. There is more to it.
Yeah. Just talking about family planning, people really wonder, are you promiscuous? What's up with you? But this is actually a development tool, and we are saying that it's a term that needs to be destigmatized. So the work that we are doing is really educating women and men about the options that are available. And at the end, it is their choice. It's education that we provide, and leave that choice to the individual to decide, this is the method I may want to use.
There's a lot of realignment when it comes to donor funding and all that. You talk about sustainability. What are the gaps within our own country, and what can we take advantage of so that the programs that you run, for instance, as can I say, partners within the health sector, do not stall?
in Kenya, what we need to do is really step up, own our country, own our issues, own our priorities, and reduce the pilferage that is happening in many centers. There's a lot of resources or money that is being collected, but how it's utilized is another different conversation. If we are able to tie those taps, then we are actually going to be less dependent on aid. And it's very sad because if you look at the years ahead, when you retire, one of the key things you will need is healthcare. Yeah, and it would be the dream. My dream would be that I should be able to go to the closest public health facility from where I live and get healthcare services. And if that facility cannot provide that particular service, perhaps it's a smaller level 1 facility, then I should be referred to another government facility. But unfortunately, our government facilities are not providing the ideal quality of healthcare services. Therefore, this is a wake-up call for Kenya that we need to step up and own our resourcing for the healthcare sector.
Contraceptives have many benefits for women, including preventing pregnancy. However, there are health benefits too. Dr. Charlotte Pahe explains.
Women's bodies go through diverse changes during pregnancy, and the bodies need time to heal, to recover. If you look at traditional African society, women would traditionally be given even 18 months to just recover because of what it takes for the pregnancy. And when she delivers, there's also a baby that she has. And the well-being of the baby is directly proportional to the well-being of the mother. She needs to be mentally at peace to be able to take care of this baby, breastfeed fully until 6 months, and then thereafter wean the child comfortably until the child is able to stand on their own before they get to where they are. So that's the benefit. It's just this spacing that allows the mother to heal, allows her to have a child who's taken care of well, because if a woman gets pregnancies too quickly, her chances of having a poorer outcome in pregnancy increase. The more it happens, the more likely, if you're looking at a bad outcome during pregnancy, it's a mother who's delivered way too quickly. Same thing with children. If children were born too frequently, they didn't quite wean well, they didn't quite finish the 6 months of full breastfeeding, then another child is brought into the family. You're looking at malnutrition for this other one that's way too young to go perhaps on full solid foods as the mother is trying to recover. So there's that entire strain, and then you're looking at a man who's also struggling to provide for his family amidst this space. So we look at family planning and that benefit in that kind of way. Not so much to limit the number of children that people desire to have, but to just allow them plan their lives.
And not spacing children can increase the risk of adverse outcomes for the mother and the baby, such as low birth weights and maternal anemia.
Chances of them bleeding during delivery, post-delivery period are very high compared to women who didn't have, whose pregnancies were spaced a bit better. There's a large volume of, the changes, for instance, in the heart function, what we call cardiovascular function. For a woman, the amount of blood volume that her body goes through changing between the time she's pregnant and then she recovers and then starts again, it's also quite massive. So those frequent changes could actually predispose her to health issues at the end. Sometimes some other things such as what we call gestational diabetes, this diabetes that comes during pregnancy, because there's also you see this weight gain that women have during pregnancy, then you also, as you're breastfeeding, you're eating a bit more, then there's that, so your next pregnancy, then you're a bit bigger, then there's a risk of gestational diabetes, then now there's a risk of giving birth to bigger babies because you had the gestational diabetes. The bigger babies means you could bleed more, means you might end up with a CS, and perhaps that was not necessary. Same thing with the baby. There's a difference, there's a particular benefit that babies get from being breastfed for the entire duration of time. They're less sick, less needing, less ill, less prone to not thriving, to poor health. The ones who are not able to get that, they don't thrive as well. There's some immunoglobulins, antibodies you get from breastfeeding from mom. You don't get the benefit if mom is pregnant and is having to cater for another baby.
And when choosing contraceptives, a woman should consider factors such as how the method may affect her body, how convenient the method is to use, and whether she has any other health conditions that may affect her ability to use certain methods.
So usually what we do when you visit a facility, there's a guide. There's a methods that range from what we call long-acting to shorter-acting methods. So a woman will be counseled. Actually, she'll be taken through what what does her reproductive system look like? A lot of women don't understand their own bodies. Yeah, you need to understand your own body. You'll hear doctors talk about how does your cycle look like? Are you a 21-day kind of cycle? Are you 35 days? Is it heavy? Is it light? So those things matter. How do you feel during them between 21 to 35 days of your cycle? Are there days you get tender breasts? Are there days you bleed a lot? Do you sport? Those kind of things. Is there a family history of some kind of cancers, for instance, in your family? So we'd look at all that. If you have a tendency to maybe bleed, you might find and if you're planning to not have babies very soon, there might be a circumstance and you're thinking, I'd want to wait 3 years. So then we'd advocate for the longer method. Could you be on another kind of treatment? For instance, if a woman is also HIV positive and she's on ARVs, the interaction between ARVs and FP could be such that one or either the available dose in the system goes down. So all those factors are considered. So we don't advise for any woman to go for anything. Usually you should be in the presence of a healthcare provider who gets a history about your body, then advises you on what's available. On ground, of course, there's usually the issue of availability. I might be told the best thing for me is an implant, and the only thing that's there is depot. So for everything you've told me, I'll end up with depot. Wasn't my preferred, but it was available. Then there's the issue of discretion. Sometimes women find it very difficult to talk about these things with their husbands. We've had stories of women who went and had implants done, and the husband came and shaved them out with a razor blade. So women sometimes want discretion. So for discretion purposes, she might think she wants an implant, but perhaps the man will touch this hand and say, you went behind my back. So she'll go for an injection because she knows you can't tell anywhere on my body. But we classify vasectomies and tubal ligations, commonly called BTLs, as permanent methods, right? Such that you're not desiring to have any more beyond. And I've seen the men who take it up look at usually what the woman has gone through. Probably they started out with a wife who didn't have very many challenges, but maybe they're health challenges. Maybe she's developed hypertension, she's developed diabetes. So we're looking at this as a family. Maybe she's added a lot of weight between the method itself and the babies, the subsequent babies, and she's struggling to shed it off. She's thinking, I can't have another hormone. Allow me have control of my body as I recover. So I've seen men who are advocates. Some of them look even at the different methods and say, this one, the dosage of this one's a bit too high for you and I'll help. So that's one way to go. But I think the thing that men can do to help is to understand your wife's body together with her. So natural methods, traditionally, particularly with those ones used to be, I remember in school we'd be told by lecturers, yeah, you're looking at a failure rate that is absolutely really high. For the ones that are natural and people are using the sort of bead method and understanding their own body and learning, you need a lot of data to understand your body. So you have to be very consistent in what you're doing, consistent in documenting. I got my cravings on this date to this date. I got my period on this date. No woman ever has her period on the exact number of days.
But for years, the important question has been whether using birth control pills can cause cancer.
Because of these hormonal issues, you look at it and you're told sometimes there can be an increased risk of uterine cancer or ovarian, or decreased. So might increase the risk of ovarian cancer, but decrease the risk of uterine cancer. So it could go this way or that way. Again, why? It's the hormone. Perhaps the ovaries are the ones that used to secrete for you the hormones by themselves based on the stimuli from the brain. Then the brain tells the ovaries, okay, make this amount. Now your ovaries are no longer making. They respond only to the one that the body is supposed to provide, but it's no longer there. This other that's external, it's a bit too much, so the ovaries are overreactive. So there could be that thought that hyper stimulation by the external one could increase the risk of ovarian cancer and reduce uterine, or the other way around, or even breast. Some thought to be protective, some thought not to be protective. But with pharmaceutical sciences, we don't always we say we know everything. Sometimes after time has passed and people observe things, they're like, okay, we saw this in way too many women. Someone should go back, which is why with medics, we always do this thing of post-market surveillance. Even after medication has been released into the market, you'll be told, please watch out. If you see something this much, research didn't show it, but in case it happens after, please alert, and everything is stopped from there.
And we cannot end this conversation without talking about postinatal or P2. Is it intended for occasional use only, or can it be used as a regular form of contraception?
So if you look at the dosage, the total dosage, in fact, when we do, there's this training bag that we use, the FP bag that has the different commodities. When we're training women, we remove the one that has P2 and the one that has no plant and tell them just read the amount of hormone that is in this one and this one. Sometimes it's 400 times the difference between what your body will release into your body over 3 years is 400 times less than what is in the P2 tablet. The P2 tablet is loading you and loading you with hormones. And it wasn't meant for continued. The reason it's called emergency is because it is perceived to be real emergency. From a medical point of view, what am I looking at an emergency? I'm looking at a girl who's been sexually assaulted. She's going through a myriad of trauma. And pregnancy is possibility because this happened during her ovulation window. That is emergency. Plan perhaps one time and then that's that. But when you have an emergency that is happening every week, every day, every month, okay, so we are no longer at emergency. And the effects of that, because again, look at the dosage of hormone. We've discussed the other side effects that are coming from these other FP methods that are regularized, that are studied, and we're looking at a risk of perhaps ovarian cancer here. You can imagine for that dose. So look at that at that much higher dosage. So the risks are tremendous. The issue of a possibility of a woman getting an ectopic pregnancy because of what the hormones do, they literally stop. The assumption is that this thing, the sperm and the ova have met, this biashara has happened, so let's stop it at this point and kill this biashara from moving fast. So we're trying to do everything else. So that you do that long enough, and your cilia that are supposed to be very nicely lined on your fallopian tubes and are helping the egg to move, you've gone too far. You're doing it too many times. So the next time they're supposed to actually move, they're thinking, yeah, we can no longer obey that instruction. This hormone load was too much for us.
So there are different types of contraceptives that you can use, from the hormonal ones, the injectables, and even the pills, and IUDs, that is the intrauterine devices. So on Good Practice today, we look at some of the contraceptives available and how to use them. There are many different types of contraception, but not all types are appropriate for all situations. The most appropriate method of birth control depends on an individual's overall health, age, frequency of sexual activity, number of sexual partners, desire to have children in the future, and family history of certain diseases. An intrauterine device, IUD, also known as intrauterine system, IUS, is a small T-shaped device inserted into the uterus to prevent pregnancy. It releases a progestin hormone into the uterus that causes thickening of the cervical mucus and inhibits sperm from reaching or fertilizing the egg. Implants are implantable rods. Each rod is matchstick size, inserted under the skin of the woman's upper arm. Short-acting hormonal methods use hormones to regulate or stop ovulation and prevent pregnancy. They include daily pills, skin patches, vaginal rings, and injectable birth control. Barrier methods are designed to prevent sperm from entering the uterus and may be an option for women who cannot use hormonal methods of contraception. These are the male and the female condoms. Sterilization is a permanent form of birth control that either prevents a woman from getting pregnant or prevents a man from releasing sperm. Tubal ligation is a surgical procedure in which the doctor cuts, ties, or seals the fallopian tubes. And vasectomy blocks the path between the testes and the urethra, so the sperm cannot leave the testes and cannot reach the egg. We've come to the end of the program, and of course, on behalf of everyone who made this program possible, the production team, and also our guests today in the program, we say thank you for your time. And in case you've missed any part of this program, remember, you can always catch us on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook page, that is KBC Channel 1 TV. My name is Marie Yambo, and I hope to see you again next time.